Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome back to Everything Within podcast. I'm your host, Alina Krasnozhon. This podcast is all about empowering you to build an extraordinary, fulfilling life and tap into the limitless potential that resides within you. Thank you for tuning in today. Today, we're diving into what's supposedly the most wonderful time of the year, or is it? You know that feeling? The decorations are up before the Halloween candy is even gone. And suddenly, everyone's asking about your holiday plans. Let's be real, while December can be magical, it can also feel like being stuck in a pressure cooker of expectations and that relentless push to be merry and bright. Whether you're feeling it from your family, social media, or that voice in your head telling you that you should be doing more, being more, celebrating more. Let's begin. You know what's fascinating? We've created this elaborate performance around the holidays. It's like we're all actors in this grand production we never actually auditioned for. And there is this invisible script we're supposed to follow. The perfect decorations, because apparently your home needs to look like a Hallmark movie set. The perfect gatherings, because if you're not hosting at least 3 events, are you even trying? God knows how many perfectly wrapped presents, a perfectly decorated table with at least 10 different dishes. And perfect photos and aesthetic videos, because if it's not on social media, did it even happen? But this isn't just about decorations and parties. We turn December into this strange paradox where we're supposed to simultaneously wind down the year with peaceful reflections and at the same time dive into endless social obligations and shopping. December isn't just a month. It became a marathon of shoots. We should be reflecting deeply on the year. We should be overflowing with gratitude. We should be celebrating every moment. We should be crafting perfect goals for the year ahead. But what if we're just tired? What if this year took more than it gave? What if we don't have the energy for forced joy and reflection? There is this restless pressure to wrap up each year in a neat little box with a perfect bow on top. But some years refuse to be wrapped. Some years are messy, unfinished, complex. And that's okay. Maybe this December isn't about forcing anything, not the joy, not the reflection, not even the hope. Maybe it's about finding comfort in the ordinary moments, in the quiet morning coffee, in the imperfect attempts at holiday cookies, in the unfinished projects and unreached goals that remind us we're human. Because here is what I've learned. Some Decembers aren't meant for celebration. They are meant for surviving, for breathing, for simply being. Some winters aren't about blooming. They're about teaching us how to grow in the dark. So this year, I want to give you permission. Permission to feel it all. Permission to do less. Permission to be here exactly as you are, without the pressure to manufacture joy or wisdom or grand plans for the future. If you're tired, be tired. If you're grateful, be grateful. If you're somewhere in between, that's perfectly okay too. And I do realize that for some people, this time of the year is a source of genuine joy. But why this should be a norm for everybody? Celebration can look differently for everybody, and that's okay. In fact, I didn't even know that Christmas celebration should look like that before I moved to Western Europe. This proves that not the entire planet Earth celebrates Christmas this way, if celebrates at all. Growing up in Ukraine, our winter celebrations looked completely different. New Year was always more important than Christmas. It was the most important celebration of the year, and each culture has its own beautiful ways of marking the end of the year. In Japan, for instance, New Year's is often more significant than Christmas as well, with its own unique traditions like eating special long noodles for longevity. This brings us to an interesting point about cultural expectations, especially for immigrants and multicultural families. We often feel this pressure to perfectly execute the local traditions while somehow maintaining our own. But here's the beautiful thing about being between cultures. You get to cherry-pick the most beautiful elements from each. In my home, we created this amazing fusion of French and Ukrainian traditions. Our holiday table tells our story. There is kutya, it's Ukrainian Christmas porridge, sitting next to French cheese platter each Christmas. Each dish represents a piece of who we are, not what we are expected to be, and I absolutely love it. Living 3,000 kilometers away from my family, I've had to completely reimagine what the holidays mean for me. Those first few years were interesting when I just moved to another country. There is this unique kind of loneliness in hearing everyone talking about their big family plans while I'm figuring out what to do in a country where everything feels slightly unfamiliar. What started as something that felt like a compromise has become one of my favorite things. Some years it's just my husband and me. We have a fancy meal with both French and Ukrainian traditional dishes, a great bottle of wine, just two of us. We exchange presents, watch a cool movie together. We make our own little traditions. No pressure, no performance, just peace. And you know what else I've learned? There is something incredibly liberating about being forced to create your own little traditions. When you're far from the familiar, you get to choose what you carry forward and what you leave behind. It's like getting a blank canvas instead of paint-by-number kit. But let's talk about something that doesn't get discussed enough. The execution of forced joy. There is this unspoken rule that you must be happy during holidays. It's like emotional mandatory overtime, isn't it? But we can't neglect the impact of shorter days on our emotional, physical, and mental health. It's real. And when you combine natural seasonal changes with holiday pressure, it can feel like pushing through fog. Some days just getting out of bed feel like an achievement, and sometimes it is. Let me share what helps me maintain my mental well-being during this season. Creating a morning routine that includes natural light exposure. Yes, even on cloudy days. Drinking enough water on empty stomach right after waking up. And drinking homemade celery juice every morning. It became my non-negotiable morning routine, and I find that it completely changed my energy levels, the way I feel every single day. It's just magical. Moving my body, even if it's just a 20-minute stretching session at home. Being selective about my commitments and energy expenditure. Having a cozy evening ritual that helps me to wind down. Sometimes it's a long warm shower, sometimes it's a gua sha face massage, sometimes it's reading my favorite book under the blanket. Getting enough sleep is crucial, and having the same hours when you wake up and go to bed as well. Don't forget to have some daily practices for your soul and for regulating your nervous system. I will never get tired of repeating that because it completely changed my life. I do journaling, meditation, breath work, and recently I started to do some chakra practices. It can be so powerful, but it's up to you to give it a try and try different things if you are interested. And here is something important. It's perfectly okay to fall off your rituals during this time. Sometimes taking a break gives you a new perspective and it helps you to come back refreshed. Your routines should serve you, not the other way around. Don't be too strict and pushy with yourself. Sometimes it's you who need the compassion the most, and you have the power to give it to yourself anytime. Now let's talk about family gatherings. You know, the ones where all your emotional triggers get packed into one room. Add a splash of alcohol, a dash of political opinions, and suddenly you're wondering why your stress levels are through the roof. But here is an interesting perspective I've discovered. These gatherings can actually be powerful mirrors, showing us exactly how much we've grown and what we still need to work on. You see, triggers aren't accidents. They're actually incredibly useful messages pointing us towards parts of ourselves that need attention and healing. Nothing brings these triggers to the surface quite like holiday family gatherings. There is this saying that I like a lot. If you think you're spiritually enlightened, try spending the holidays with your family. I found it to be true so many times. Let me get personal for a moment. There was a time when Christmas with my husband's family felt like walking through an emotional minefield. I was hyper aware of everything, my job title, my French accent, even the way I carried myself. As an immigrant from Eastern Europe, I felt like I was constantly trying to prove my worth in what I perceived as a superior Western European setting. But while I thought others were judging me, the harshest judge was actually looking back at me in the mirror. I spent years blaming others for how they made me feel, when in reality I was the one making myself small and giving my power away. But with time, I finally understood something profound. These feelings weren't about them, they were about me. When I started taking full responsibility for my emotions and triggers, everything shifted. Instead of trying to justify or explain myself, I began allowing myself to just be. And surprisingly, when I gave myself that permission, I naturally extended the same courtesy to others in the family. Here is what I want you to take away from my experience. You have an incredible power within you, the power to take responsibility for your internal world. Yes, it might feel uncomfortable at first to stand in your truth, to set boundaries, to express different opinions, which, by the way, you have every right to have. But trust me, this temporary discomfort is far better than constant drain of shrinking yourself, of living at the mercy of others' opinions. Remember, while you can't control what others say or think about you, you have complete power over how you respond to every situation. That's where your real power lies, not in the controlling the external world, but in mastering your internal one. The end of the year reflection piece is particularly tricky. Every social media platform, every magazine, every well-meaning friend is asking, what were your biggest achievements this year? What are your goals for the next year? And if you're anything like me, sometimes the answer is just, I survived. I didn't achieve everything I planned. I didn't earn $1 million. I didn't gain 100k new followers on any social media platform. And that's okay. This forced contemplation can actually push us into a spiral of comparison and anxiety. Instead of natural reflection, we're doing this weird performance art of gratitude and goal setting, and often when we are at our most depleted. Instead, you can just slow down this month, do less, reflect on things that went well, in peace, without any pressure, and set some achievable goals for the next year if you feel like you want to. Create your own little traditions that you love and that bring you joy, but not the anxiety and pressure of reviewing your year and setting 100 goals for the next year. You don't need to be obsessed with the end of the year goal setting and creating an endless list of resolutions. You don't need 100 goals to have an extraordinary year, and you definitely don't need to wait for January 1st to start making changes in your life. For 2024, for example, I did something that might sound crazy in our achievement-obsessed culture. I didn't set any formal goals. Instead, I chose to trust my intuition and flow with life's momentum. And you know what? Amazing things happened naturally. It was one of the most amazing years I have ever had so far. And I approach my year-end reflection differently. Instead of creating rigid goals, I gently review different areas of my life: business, health, relationship, spirituality, finances, and simply notice what flourished and what needs more attention. It's more like tending a garden rather than building a skyscraper. And this flexible approach led to some beautiful surprises. This podcast was born not from a strategic plan, but from a genuine desire to share and connect. I started creating content that truly resonated with my soul. My web design business transformed as I had the courage to release clients that weren't aligned with my energy. My fitness journey deepened, not because I set strict goals, but because I became more attuned to what my body needed. Even my relationships with my husband evolved to new depth, and my spiritual journey expanded in ways I couldn't have planned. All of this happened not because I was chasing specific goals, but because I was committed to growth and authenticity. Here is what I want you to remember. Your year can be extraordinary without following the traditional goal-setting formulas you see all over the social media. Sometimes the most profound transformations happen when we focus less on the destination and more on the journey of becoming. When you commit to personal growth and stay open to possibilities, life has a beautiful way of unfolding and flowing beyond your expectations effortlessly. Isn't that amazing? The real magic happens not in checking boxes of a list, but in staying curious, remaining open, and trusting your inner guidance. That's where the truly meaningful changes begin. So how do we make this season actually enjoyable? Let me share some practical ideas that have worked for me. You can break free from performative celebrations and find your authentic way of making this season. You're not supposed to create those Pinterest perfect moments. They're often more about performance than presence. What if instead of chasing the perfect celebration, we chased meaningful moments? This might mean letting go of traditions that don't serve you, even if they are traditional. Creating celebrations that reflect who you are, not who you think you should be. Handling judgment about your non-traditional choices with grace. And yes, some people will judge. You don't have a lot of power over that, but that's okay. When you start celebrating in ways that truly reflects your values and bring you joy, something magical happens. You inspire others to do the same. Creating meaningful moments doesn't mean having everything perfect. Sometimes it's about embracing the imperfect, focusing on connection over presentation, letting go of the shoulds and embracing what feels right for you, creating space for authentic conversations instead of surface-level pleasantries. In our hyper-connected world, we need to talk about digital boundaries as well during the holidays. You know that feeling when you're at family dinner but your work email is popping up? Or when you're so focused on getting the perfect photo for Instagram that you miss the actual moment? Here's what I learned about creating genuine presence. Set clear boundaries. Those emails can wait until January. Choose specific times for social media check-ins rather than constant scrolling if you need to. Consider having free phone zones or times during celebrations. Focus on creating memories rather than documenting them. Remember, not everything needs to be shared online. Some of the most beautiful moments are the ones that exist just for you and your loved ones, without the pressure of perfect lighting or the right caption. As we wrap up today, I want you to remember something important. The holiday season is not a test you can fail. It's not a performance to be judged. It's your time, your energy, your celebration. You have full permission to say no to events that drain you. Create celebrations that actually fit your life. Honor your need for quiet and rest. Choose joy and peace over obligation. Remember, the most meaningful traditions are often the ones that evolve naturally, not the ones we force ourselves to maintain. Whether your perfect December looks like a house full of family, a quiet evening with a book, or something in between, that's perfectly fine. Be gentle with yourself, protect your peace, and celebrate in whatever ways feels truly right for you. Until the next time, bye!